Hey geeks, I'm Trey Guillotine, and today I'm talking about whether open world games are really better than non-open world games. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it so others can join in the conversation. Let's geek out. Obviously, I play a lot of video games, and lately I've been playing the first Destiny, seeing all of the Destiny 2 stuff, all of the trailers, playing the beta a little bit before the game came out, seeing what's come out with the game. It's got me really excited, so I wanted to go back and actually play Destiny, which I never really played a lot. I played a very small amount of it when it first came out, and it just didn't grab my attention, so I didn't really play it again. Well, with Destiny 2 coming out, it got me wanting to play it, so I've gone back, I've played it, thoroughly enjoying it. It's not perfect, it's not my favorite game ever, but I'm thoroughly enjoying the experience. But playing it has me thinking about the idea of open world games versus non-open world games. More or less, Destiny, at least the first Destiny, is an open world game. It's not open world to the point that you can go from one end of the area to the other end of the area, and that area encompasses all of the other areas. Like you go through all of the entire map, every map you could touch, you go through the entire area. It's not a complete sandbox game like, say, Skyrim or Fallout. But it is open world in that on each planet it gives you a map and it lets you explore that map, and that map is, for the most part, a really small sandbox that you can play around in. And as fun as that is, the structure of the missions and how each mission comes along has me kind of questioning the idea of open world game. For me anyway, when I've been playing Destiny, the missions would come up and each mission would have a certain suggested level. For the most part, when I'm playing a video game, I try my best to stick to one story arc each. I start a story arc, I go throughout those quests, and then I finish it, and then I go to the next one. But I also do my best to stick to the quests that are a little below my level. So if I'm a level 3, I would go on a level 2 mission before I go on a level 3 mission. That way I'm over the level suggested for the current mission, and then I'll get some experience on that level, and then be a little higher level when I go to the next mission. I think that's a pretty sound strategy in playing a video game. Well, my experience with Destiny kind of takes the two ways I play video games and kind of throws a wrench in them, as I was finding myself with each mission, I would do a mission in this story arc, and then the next mission for that story arc would be a little higher than another mission in another story arc. So I found myself bouncing around between different story arcs. Now, the story in Destiny 1, at least, and I just started Taken King, and already there's a lot more story elements to the Taken King than in just the regular Destiny storyline. But in the Destiny storyline, I found that story wasn't the biggest deal. That it was pretty easy to keep up with the different story arcs that I was jumping around in, but it wasn't my preferred way of playing. So as fun as open world gaming can be, I find that sometimes the structure of an open world game can kind of put the story out of order. Of course, there are a lot of other open-world games that focus more on story than Destiny does, like the Mass Effect series or the Dragon Age series. Both recent installments of those games are kind of open-world-esque, in that just like Destiny, you can't walk from one end of the map all the way through all the other areas to the other end of the map. With each planet or area you visit in Dragon Age or Mass Effect Andromeda, you get a pretty big area to explore. And you can travel around that area, fight different enemies, find different things, find different collectibles or different elements to other side quests, as well as the main quest. But you can't leave that giant area and go into another giant area. Which makes sense for Mass Effect because you'd be leaving a planet to go to another planet. Oh, that would be really cool if you could, like, travel the entirety of that planet and then jump in your ship, fly the ship yourself from the surface of one planet to the surface of another planet. That would be really cool. I think No Man's Sky tried to be a little bit like that. I don't know, I didn't play a lot of No Man's Sky, it didn't really catch my attention. It's this freedom in these games that kind of puts the story a little bit out of order. For example, in Mass Effect Andromeda, on the very first planet, I've noticed that if I explore the area before doing one of the main quests where you find the first remnant structure and you meet PB, if you do other quests before that and you run into the remnant enemies, you refer to them as remnant, which doesn't really make sense because PB is the one who introduces you to the remnant and tells you what they're called, or at least what she calls them. So for me, it's a very tiny detail that just puts one little itty bitty thing out of order, but it's stuck in my head. I've never forgotten. It's happened a couple times in my playthrough when I would want to explore as much as I could before doing the main quest. And it just bugs me because I like my stories to have somewhat of a linear line to them. Dragon Age Inquisition, however, is a little bit different in its linear story progression. It gives you an area, and as you go through the story, a new area opens up. And they do this on Andromeda as well, and the other Mass Effect video games, even though the other Mass Effect aren't so much open world as open areas, where you'll have maybe 2 or 3 open areas where you can go shop and do other side quests, but then each main quest, or I guess content-heavy quest, you would have like a linear progression to go through that level. But in Dragon Age Inquisition, just for example, they would give you, there comes a point in the story where you're given choices of what to do. Now, the first choices you have are joining the mages and joining the Templars. That you do one or the other. You can't do both. After those choices, you're given the choice to either go to Orlais and save the Empress, or go face the Grey Wardens, who are kind of manipulated into being the enemy in this game. Ultimately, you can do either one. You can do either one as they're kind of isolated events. But to me, whenever I'm playing a game, there's a script in my head that I feel I have to adhere to. So even if I can choose to do the quests in a different order, I usually do them in the same order. So for me, in my playthrough of Dragon Age Inquisition, it makes a lot more sense to go save the Empress Orlais, as it's a good introduction of the world to the Inquisition. You save the Empress of Orlais, which then gives you a lot more people on your side, and it brings in the character of Morrigan, who I think is an incredibly important character to the Dragon Age lore. So having her around longer than if I had waited till after I'd done another major thing and then bring her in, it has her input and her influence on the rest of the thing, even if it's just inside conversation. Now that's just me. That's just me for whenever I play these games. Someone else might look at these games and play it the exact opposite and have perfectly valid reasoning for that. But for me, that's my reasoning, and that's why I play these games like I do. Even in Skyrim and Fallout, which in my opinion, I feel like Bethesda with the Elder Scrolls and the Fallout series are probably the best examples of just a complete open sandbox game. And the story really works well in those games because from the beginning, the entire world is open. You can go do whatever you want. And for the most part, a lot of the side quests that you'll discover won't completely impact the main story of the game. So you could do all the side quests and then do the main story of the game. And there won't be a lot of influence or a lot of things out of order if you've done the main story while doing side quests, or done the main story and then did side quests. But even in these games, in these massive games that have a giant map and complete character customization, and you can do the factions and you can do the side quests and you can even find quests in this playthrough that you didn't find in the last playthrough, I still find myself following a script in my head to the events as they make sense as I'm playing the game. And I stick to that script in just about every playthrough. It's because of this script that sometimes these games, for me at least, don't have a lot of replayability. Because I've played the game and everything I'm going to do the same way that I always do. I know that I can do different paths. I know that I can make different choices in these games, different characters, join different factions or destroy different factions. But for me, whenever I'm playing the game, there's a script there's a script in my head that I'm going to abide to, and it's going to bug the piss out of me if I don't follow it. But with games like Skyrim and Fallout is that you'll find quests in every playthrough that you'll find a quest here that you didn't find in your last playthrough. And there's plenty of times where I'm talking with friends about my current playthrough and I'll mention a quest that I found. They've never even heard of that quest, so then they'll go try to find that quest. And it's little things like that that really add to the replayability of open world games like Skyrim and Fallout. With all the exploration and all of the side quests that you can find in open world games, I feel that non-open world games or linear games, as far as telling the story goes, is less of a chance that the story is going to be told out of order. Because it is a linear game. From start to finish, you're basically following a path, and that path is going to have obstacles and enemies and riddles for you to follow, but you're going to be following the same path no matter how many times you're going to play the game. Great examples that come to mind for this are the Uncharted series or even The Last of Us. All of these are Naughty Dog games. I'm not saying Naughty Dog is the only company that can do this linear story progression well. It's just when I'm thinking of a really well-told linear story in a great game, these are the games I think of. Uncharted 1 through 3, even Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us. All of these games, you go from map to map in the order that you're supposed to. It's not open world, aside from Uncharted 4, which has kind of a small open world segment near the end, but that's about it. But for the most part, you're going in order of the story. And that makes for a really strong story, especially in The Last of Us, which has one of the most gripping and strongest stories in a video game I've seen in a while. One of the most, not the best, but one of the most. One of the strongest stories I've seen in a video game in a good while. And it's the benefit of this linear progression that the story is told as strong as it is in the order that it's supposed to be, where as in an open world game you have the chance to, not to mess up the story, but maybe tell things a little bit out of order than the original designer and the original writer of the missions really intended you to experience it that way. Ultimately, I don't think it comes down which one is better. I feel that there are strengths and weaknesses for open world games and linear games that both have strengths that the other doesn't have. And there are definitely plenty of open world games where the story makes a lot of sense as it goes. I keep coming back to Skyrim, but Skyrim is a complete open world game where the story makes sense. The story sends you, the main story sends you to pretty much all of the major areas where you're going to find all the side quests. It sends you to a city for something in the main quest that's going to trigger something with the Thieves Guild, and it's going to send you to a city that's going to trigger an event with the Assassins Guild. So you have the chance to do those side quests as you're doing the story. The same can be said for Fallout 4, as the main quest will send you to all those areas where at some point you're going to be picking up those side quests anyway, and they work with the main story. So no, I don't think open world games are definitely the best type of game. I think open world and linear games, specifically just talking about these two types of games, as far as story goes, both have strength that the other lacks. When planning your next Wizard World Comic-Con experience, make sure you use the discount code GuillotineGeek online to get 10% off your ticket purchase, and use those savings to buy some merch or meet a celebrity. Do you prefer open world games or more linear games? Let me know in the comments, and share the video around so others can join in the conversation. Follow me on all the internets. You can check out my written content at guillotinegeek.blogspot.com. You can support my future content by becoming a patron on my Patreon, and you should subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching and have fun. So Captain America, Thor, Hulk.